Hello, everybody. Welcome to the URUR. My name is Jose. Today's date is August 10th, 2015. Here with me is Rob. How you doing, Rob?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. He's brought to you by Skype here. He's on the road right now.
That's right.
And we'll be talking today about Bernie Sanders, among other things. Now, before we get into Bernie Sanders, did you watch the Republican debate, or did you get a chance to see at least the highlights?
No, I caught most of it.
Okay.
Uh, it was very interesting. Donald Trump didn't pull any punches, as as expected. As expected, though.
he,
That's not a
he
surprise.
just woke up and he just showed up.
He put Megyn Kelly in her place, huh?
I guess you could say that. I mean, to me, he just sounded like, one of those snotty little kids in classroom. He just says your mom kind of jokes. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it wasn't anything really of substance.
It's
And
true. I mean, he didn't lay out like a policy plan or anything, an
no,
agenda,
not
but
at all.
he stuck with what's got him to the dance and kept him successful. So
Hey, if it works, why change it, right? If it ain't broke,
exactly,
why change it? I
exactly.
mean, it was highly entertaining to watch. It was probably the most fun I've had personally uh, to watch a debate. Uh, everybody, what you could tell, like from the get go, even Governor Christie, you could tell he was kind of taking the momentum from Trump in a way, by his little snotty remarks as well. It's kind of like
Yeah.
saying, okay, now everybody can. At one point, I was thinking, okay, is everybody going to jump on the wagon now? Is everybody going to have like this free spirited debate now? It was just
Yeah.
ridiculous. Because
I
normally
mean,
they're all tense and shit.
yeah, and I think like to me, Senator Rubio and Governor Kasich, I thought that they looked like the adults at the table. That's just me. I thought they looked most presidential. Um, Christie and Rand Paul were going at it briefly, and
Mm-hmm.
that was entertaining, but clearly that didn't come across as presidential or
Not
being
at all.
worthy of being the nominee. Uh, what's his name? Ben Carson was like fighting for for time.
For attention,
Yeah, and Jeb Bush just looked weak. Uh, Ted Cruz looked like a loony,
like
uh,
always.
like always. Am I forgetting anybody?
I'm sure you are. Huckabee?
Mike Huckabee. Wow, his understanding of the military is he said the purpose of the military is to kill people and wreck things. I think I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty close
Yeah.
to what he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, you can. What I kept thinking throughout the whole debate, which is almost every year, is how out of touch these people are.
Yeah,
Like you really start thinking, like, who are they truly catering to? Because each one of them is in some sorts extremist, and you're kind of thinking, who are they? They're alienated themselves. Like, who are they trying? Why are they there? Who are the people that are for these people?
you're right.
Um, Mark Rubio did speak for the middle class and debt, and you
And
know,
about immigration.
and immigration. I thought he had some strong points there.
He did, and I think like like his message, like the way he came across, he delivered a message for the middle class, immigration. He kind of reached across very slightly, but still remained true to his base. But I think his message has a crossover appeal that could swing some of those middle voters, those independent voters.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Aside from that, I mean, he did have some deer in headlight moments right before he would speak. It was pretty funny.
He did.
Scott Walker,
There's the other one.
he was out of touch to me. I
Yeah.
mean, listening to people of America. Is he really listening to people in America? Does he understand what's going on? Because I don't buy it. He
You don't
keeps
buy it?
no, I don't buy it. I don't see what he's talking about. That he's listening to people from America at all.
Right.
And then of course, we've already mentioned him, but Trump, talking about how in the past he's said he's taken advantage of the laws. He's gone. I loved how they were saying they're talking about bankruptcy and how he said, "Oh, my company's gone through bankruptcy, not me." You're kind of thinking like, well, if you're running the company, what's the difference? America's gonna go bankrupt, but not me. That's basically the message that I got, you know. And then he has, I hate using this word, but he has the audacity to bring in Reagan. You know, he's like, Reagan evolves too, just like I'm evolving. I'm like, you don't know what you're evolving to. You know, you're giving money to anybody who wants it. Apparently, well, give me some money. Even all the people that were sitting, all the representatives up there, they're like, oh yeah, give me some money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was just ridiculous. That to me just seemed over the top. Just like a skit. A lot of these people keep saying like, "Oh, it's a skit." It was like kind of a Saturday Night Live skit. It did feel kind of like reality TV. I don't know if you ever seen this movie called Bullworth.
No.
Oh my gosh, you need to check it out. Warren Beatty is the lead actor in it, and I think he wrote it. But it's about this politician who knows he's going to lose to the Clinton administration, and he's like, screw it. Last days of my campaign, he just goes crazy, and he just, starts talking about anything, and just says it how it is. And this is pretty much what Donald Trump is. It's funny how it's actually happening. You see a movie, you're like, oh, that would never happen, and then there's, Donald Trump actually, going through that. It's pretty funny.
You don't like Donald Trump, I can tell.
You know,
You-
I just, if it works as a business, great. I did have respect for him in regards to his business endeavors or whatever. I kind of felt like he's a guy that takes a lot of risks, and you need people to take risk in the business thing. So you kind of look up to somebody, even begrudgingly, uh, to a guy in that stature, that can bounce
yeah.
back and get up again, like that song, Chumbawamba song, right? But yeah, when he kind of said, "Screw it, I'm gonna run for president," and you see how he's just saying "screw with it." Maybe he was having fun with it. I don't know. If it's a big gag on us, I kind of feel like it's the ultimate gag. But if he's really serious about doing this, the way he's going about it, man, it's such a joke, I really hope this is all a big joke on, American politics, because then
I,
he would be a genius.
he look. He's very strong. Like as far as like the way he comes across. So probably most, I'd say, not very favorable, but I mean, he's appealing to a certain part of a certain part of America.
Yeah.
But but it's interesting because I mean, I think he brings up, despite all his shenanigans and tomfoolery, as some would put it, you know, immigration. He brings up an issue there. Does he word it the way it's, does he what am I looking? What's the words I'm looking for? Like, is he spreading the message the way he should be? As
Right.
far as bringing the issue to the table. He's probably not going about it the right way, but there is a problem. Like, we wouldn't be talking about immigration. We wouldn't
Oh,
be
if it
talking.
wasn't for him, like he said.
Well, I don't think, not as far as the Republican, as far as their debates and their discussions are concerned. I don't think so. I think on the
Maybe.
Democratic
Yeah.
side, sure, because a lot of the reformers tend to be, a lot of the dreamers tend to be, tend to side or tend to vote Democratic or be
Sure.
on that. So, but I don't think the Republicans will be talking about it. So I think that that's good that
Yeah.
he's kind of held their feet to the fire in regards to that issue.
Yeah.
Also, you know, if you've heard him talk, he says America doesn't win anymore,
Yeah. That's yeah.
and it's true. Like, you know, we're not. Where are we ranked on education? We're like 20 something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're so far down in literacy. We're so far. We're not winning. In terms of our kids being educated. It was funny because on his during his campaign announcement, he said, "When's the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Japan?" Like, think about that. Like, you see Toyotas everywhere. Like, are we really winning? Like, are we?
No.
We're not
I
number one. America is not number one anymore.
Yeah. I definitely understand that point. I think that appeals to a lot of people as well. For me personally, I like that. I like that candor. I like that he's speaking his mind. Um, which brings me to Bernie Sanders, because if you
Uh
think,
oh.
Bernie Sanders in that aspect of things has the same mentality. If you think about it, and I mean, that's poor choice of words. He has a very similar approach. He speaks his mind as well. He's not being presidential.
Yeah.
He's talking about issues, and he's doing it in a manner where people can relate to it. He's not being overly preachy, and he really feels he's bringing things to the common man. I kind of feel that, yes, Donald Trump has done that, and he's getting a lot of attention. At the same time, maybe this works in the favor of Bernie Sanders. The style that the delivery that Donald Trump is doing it in, Bernie Sanders, I feel, is equally as impressive as well. Now, the only
Yeah.
difference is Donald Trump doesn't necessarily know how to really say what he's trying to say, or maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. But Bernie Sanders does have an agenda, and he's letting people know. I think a lot of people don't know because, he's running as a independent right now.
Well, he's running as a Democrat.
Right.
Is, but he's hasn't he? He's what has he's voted as independent, or he's been classified as independent
He's
before?
classified as independent because uh, he's, as a senator, he didn't run as anything else. He's the
That's right.
longest independent. What's the word I'm looking for? He
The longest serving independent senator.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and so that's appealing. Definitely. I mean, maybe he could get the Democrat nomination. We'll talk about
Oh,
Hillary later on, but um, before we get into that, I just wanted to kind of talk about some of my favorite Donald Trump quotes. But yeah, my point was that uh, Donald Trump speaks his mind. Bernie, if people know enough about Bernie Sanders, is that if they find Donald Trump appealing, this might catapult Bernie Sanders. Perhaps, if people figure out quickly that Donald Trump is, you know, just a joke, well, they're going to figure out Bernie Sanders has the same type of delivery. Maybe a lot of people that are kind of swinging might be able to go towards Bernie Sanders.
yeah.
So, with that said, though, let me kind of read some of my favorite Donald Trump quotes, all right? So,
Donald.
yeah. So he said, it really doesn't matter what the media write as long as you've got a young and beautiful piece of ass.
Uh, when did he say this?
These are quotes that I found from the internet. These are quotes that he's actually either did on Twitter or he actually said in interviews.
Oh wow.
So this
Okay.
is this is another one via Twitter. He said, "The U.S. will invite El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord who just escaped prison, to become a U.S. citizen because our leaders can't say no." Okay, when he says that, what is he trying to say?
Well, I think what he's trying. Okay, this is what he's trying to. I think this is what he's trying to say. He's trying to say our leaders are incompetent. They're not. Basically, we. I think he's over exaggerating. I
Right, of
think
course.
he's what he's saying is that if he's trying to use El Chapo as an example. I don't think he's literally meaning that El Chapo is going to be a U.S. citizen, but his message is that Mexico is not set. Other countries, not just Mexico, aren't sending their best. He thinks that they're purposely sending bad people to this
Right.
country because their government doesn't want to handle that.
Yeah, that
That
citizen.
problem.
I mean, I can understand a certain view on things. I think that he might have just said it wrong. I think maybe what he was trying to say is that the reason we're having all these types of issues immigration wise is because Mexico is having too much trouble fixing their country to build jobs to keep people within their country. But I kind of think it's funny how it's easy for someone to point the finger at somebody else. Of course, they're pointing the finger at Mexico when, in fact, here in the United States, income inequality is getting worse and worse every day. So what's
Yeah.
going to happen when we turn into Mexico? Where are we going to go? You know, it's like, yeah, it's fun to poke at other countries for their issues, but yet we're not going to take a look at each other and say, okay, let's fix what we have. Maybe that's the whole part of him saying we don't win anymore. I don't know, maybe, but the way that in other words, the way that he presents this is just so wrong. You know, invite El Chapo here. Come on, man. Like, we do business with El Chapo. That's why he's El Chapo.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Come on,
we do business with El Chapo.
think about it.
Well,
Moving on.
okay.
So he also said, laziness is a trait in the blacks. Black guys counting my money. I hate it.
Oh no, he didn't say
I
that.
swear. I swear.
When did he say that?
Oh my gosh. He said it. He said it.
Well,
Um, he did. It's pretty unfortunate, but he did.
okay.
The only kind of people I want counting my money are little short guys that wear yarmulkes every day.
Oh,
That's a bad one.
wow, that's a little strong.
That's a bad one. And then finally, the Rosie O'Donnell one. He said a couple, but this was the one that I found. Rosie O'Donnell's disgusting both inside and out. You take a look at her; she's a slob. She talks like a truck driver. She doesn't have her facts. She'll say anything that comes to her mind. I mean, this is a guy that just speaks his mind. You got to love him for that.
Yeah, I do, because he does speak his. But Rosie O'Donnell, look. I'm not gonna say.
I know.
I'm not gonna go to the extreme that he used, but she isn't the most flattering person. I mean,
No.
she can come across as obnoxious,
Yeah.
and but I mean, he kind of went a little overboard. But I digress.
Yeah.
I digress.
With the last one, he says, one of the key problems today is that politics is such a disgrace. Good people don't go into government. And he's going into government, so.
Part of that statement might be true.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's just a little bit of Donald Trump there. I have loads of more, but we don't have time to go through them.
I'm very interested in talking about the liberal version of Donald Trump here.
Right. That's interesting, right? Now we do have to say that the current polls I checked this morning, he is leading. Most say he's in the 20s. Bush is like around 12, 14, anywhere.
Are you talking Trump?
From different sites. I checked all these different sites, and then Walker is anywhere from 8 all the way up to 10, around that range. So Trump is still leading.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good lead.
Yeah. So yeah, talk a little bit about his liberal agenda over here. What do you have?
Whose liberal agenda? You talking about Bernie?
No, Donald.
Donald?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a liberal agenda.
Well, I thought you were talking about how this is the thing that gets me.
I'm talking about Bernie.
Oh, Bernie. Okay.
He's the liberal version of Donald Trump.
Oh, okay. I see that. Okay. All right. I got you. Okay. So this is pretty much. I got this from the Observer. I put the link below, and this was today at 10:30, and I'm going to read a little bit from it. All right.
Okay.
So for those people who don't know Bernie Sanders, he is running for president, and this kind of little recap of what the Observer said about his current state when it comes to him running for president.
Okay.
So here goes. For serious analysts of politics, the summer belongs to Sanders, and no other candidate can come even close to the size of his crowds or the clarity, passion, and idealism for his message. The Republican campaign has become a reality television show, with the Sanders campaign offers the reality of a surging movement of progressive politics, progressive organization, and progressive inspiration that is transforming American politics under the radar of the national political media. Yet, not a word of GOP attacks against Obama or Clinton or against other Republicans offer any hint of how they would make life better for Americans if they were brought to power. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders calls for a free public college education for American young people, financed by a tiny tax on trading transactions on Wall Street. Meanwhile, while the GOP wages its obsessive war against Obamacare and would rip away the insurance of Americans with pre existing conditions and children now covered by the policies of their parents, Bernie Sanders calls for one true and powerful healthcare reform of a single payer and Medicare for all systems that has worked wonders for leading democratic nations around the world. This is the last little bit that I cut, and I'm just cutting little sections from it. You could read the whole article, links below. Let Republicans battle over taxpayer finance congressional inquisitions in Washington and the history of emails and their low regard for each other and whatever they battled over during their last debate. Bernie Sanders is battling for genuine affordable college education and truly universal health care and a more fair and prosperous economy and greater social justice and an end to corruption of politics in Washington and a better life for Americans who will cast their votes on election day. So what are your thoughts on that so far, on what he stands for? And he is getting a lot of momentum right now.
He is. I think he drew something like 28,000 people in Portland. I think 15,000. There
Yeah.
was another city he was in. But I mean, he's drawing crowds. But I think he just might be too liberal.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I kind
He
of feel that he
might
won't appeal to, like, he won't get that middle, like you say.
he's not. He's not going to get that. Right now, it's so early though. We're like 400 plus days from from the election, so it's very hard to like you know Bernie Sanders is inching up on Hillary, but what's that going to mean in by the time we reach the first primary? You know what I mean? Will Joe Biden jump in the race at that point? There's a lot of things, but I think his message is certainly resonating. Although he's had these Black Lives Matter people interrupt. I don't know if you saw that.
Right, right. Yeah, protesters drove Bernie Sanders from one Seattle stage, and his next stop, 15,000 people showed up. So you clearly see how, even though something bad happened, hey, he got press. What do they say? Bad press not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
So it clearly worked on his favor. What I saw the video, and man, some people are just they're not educated. If they were to know this guy when he was young, during the civil rights movement, he played a big part. So they're the ones that ended up looking rather silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing about Bernie Sanders is that there's a lot of things that I feel he would have to contend against. I read this great report by the Washington Post, and it says that Sanders, a self-described democratic socialist, was met with boisterous cheers as he decried the political influence of the billionaire class and pledged to raise the minimum wage, mandate family leave, and push other politics that improve the lot of the working class. So this is the stuff that was going on, during that time where they had all these protesters going on, when he showed up. The issue with that is that, yeah, he has this great message, but how is he going to spin a lot of these socialist views upon him? Because when you
See,
read somebody as a socialist, they think, oh my gosh, the worst thing that
that's
they
a
think
problem.
is that a socialist is a bad thing, which is not necessarily a bad thing. What I just read just tells you that he's looking to help the middle class and the poor as well. I mean, that's what he sees as being a socialist.
Yeah.
He's not trying to convert, somebody not trying to turn this country into like a communist party or anything like that. He's just trying to make sure that the poor and the middle class, get treated fairly.
But that I mean, so what is Bernie suggesting? We overthrow capitalism?
Well,
I,
overthrow
I,
is a harsh word.
I
Word,
mean, well, it's a socialist. I mean, a socialist, by definition, would mean that the production, distribution, exchange of our society would be owned and regulated by the entire community as a whole. So
right?
does that mean everything's equal? I mean, what does that
Well,
mean? I
not
guess.
everything's equal. The thing about it is there just have to be some sort of reform that would have to keep this society splitting, because as we know, the the policies for now, low and middle class, except like 1% basically gets. Would you agree that 1% is the majority that gets most of the money now, and you're
Of
left
the pop,
of the population?
yeah, there's a 1%. Yeah, the 1%
Right. That's
that
all
makes.
we're talking about, and it's
Yeah.
splitting. From people from the middle class and low income. It's the gap's getting larger and larger, and
It is.
basically rebuild. We're what he's trying to say is that we want to put policies in place that will rebuild our infrastructure, that will help build jobs, and they will stop the growth of wealth and inequality.
Well, you need, and I've always said this. I mean, this is part of, and I'll go back to when I ran for local office
Uh huh.
here. I had always, and this was back in 2008, mind you. We were just getting off the economic crisis right at the end of Bush's presidency, 08, 09, and we were just starting. Obama had just started his term, and what I had advocated for was infrastructure, investing in infrastructure because it creates jobs.
Right.
And what we need as a country, because a lot of our roads, a lot of our highways, we're lagging behind other countries.
Yeah.
Our transportation, just there's a wide variety of things that we can invest in it. But if we invest our if we pass a comprehensive bill that would invest in our infrastructure, improving our transportation as a nation, it would put people to work. It'd almost be something along the lines of the New Deal,
Yeah.
which would put people to work, and would it would help our economy as a whole.
There you go.
But here's the thing. So like Bernie has all these ideas from I read one of his because he has these little pictures with quotes.
Yeah.
No man should go hungry. He talked about the top 1% and this, that, and the other. Uh, what in order to and well, this goes for anybody. In order to get what they're going to need to get done, because like all these candidates for president, they're talking about. Uh, well, I promise. I'm gonna like Bush. I think Bush said I'm going to create, what was it, 4% job growth by the end of my presidency or something like that, and most presidents do like 2%. And so they asked him, like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
And so, well, I'm just going to do that. That's kind of the answer you get.
Yeah.
But what it takes is it takes a Congress, it takes a Senate
Absolutely.
to
You're
get
right.
to get to get shit done. And the
Mhm.
problem is we're no longer in like our culture, our party system is so divided now
Yeah.
that that nobody wants to compromise
On anything.
with anybody. Like back in the 90s, the Republicans worked with the Democrats, they balanced the budget and shit was going great. And now nobody wants to do that. And so the problem is, in order for things to get done, is our country needs to elect either a Democratic Congress, a Democratic Senate, and a
Yeah.
president. And that's how it's going to have to work.
Which was going to be my last point, to be
Oh, I'm
honest.
sorry. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you for ruining the podcast.
But it's true. Like
No, you're right.
he's got all these great ideas. How's he gonna get this done? I honestly,
Yeah.
I don't think he's electable.
I'm
I think if he got the nomination, he would lose.
Well, I mean, even if
He,
my
he would.
my yeah, I mean, the way I feel about it is, even if he were to become president, you know, it would be hard to pass some of this stuff.
Oh, it would be very hard.
Like, he's in favor of free or low cost universities, like state universities, and
Yeah.
he's He's talking about like a Robin Hood tax, which is on Wall Street speculation, and it's great. Like, well, wow, accessible, low cost education, that would be awesome. But then again, I hate to be cynical, but it's like, would that actually pass? Would we be able to get a
Right.
bill on the floor? I mean, how many times does a bill go and get shut down before something happens? And then when the bill does go through, it's not the bill that we first thought we wanted
Right.
to get, anyways, because we've just okay, take this clause out. Just you're just trying to just feed it in, hopes it to hope it makes it, and then nobody's really happy because it's not the bill that we wanted anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, well, you realize like there are so many bills that don't even they die in
Yeah,
committee. They die in the
exactly.
committee meetings,
Yeah,
and so even when they make the floor, and then you're trying to, this is kind of where the compromising comes in.
exactly.
So they're trying to get something passed, right? And it's like, okay, I need this. I need like these Republicans on board so we can get this passed.
And
And
they're
what
just
they'll do,
sitting on it.
they'll either sit on it or they'll say, well, you know what, we'll put in. I hear your district needs $10 million for infrastructure. We'll put that in the bill so your district gets the $10 million for
Yeah,
infrastructure. Or I hear you want to build this bridge. Well, we'll
yeah,
put it in. And it's all this pork, is what it is.
yeah, exactly.
If you read these bills, like there's so many bills that there's all this extra shit that has nothing to do with the bill itself. Like that's not what our that's not what our founding fathers had intended for when they created a Senate and a Congress.
I don't know, man.
Like, could you imagine back in the day? Hey, Benjamin Franklin, this is Thomas Jefferson. Hey, I hear you need 10 bushels of corn. If you vote for this, I'll. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
like it's asinine. But back to Bernie.
Yeah,
The burn.
the burn.
His heart's in the right place.
It
And
is. It is.
his message is resonating amongst liberals, and he's drawing all these crowds.
Mm-hmm.
But here's why he won't win. So let's say he gets elected, or
Mm-hmm.
not elected, but he gets nominated.
Uh-huh.
Obama, because some people were comparing it to his momentum in the crowds to that of Obama.
Okay.
And I think somebody said, like, one of the places that he was at hasn't drawn that big of a crowd since Obama in 2008.
Right.
So I think with the Democrats, that especially with the people that ignited Obama's, eventual run,
Mm-hmm.
his message is resonating with them. But the problem is, I don't think he has that crossover appeal. Like Obama was able to he had to get that middle, he
Yeah.
had to get the middle ground. And I think Obama when he ran was young. He was the first African American.
Yeah.
He could, Obama could speak. Like he could deliver a motivational speech like
Mm-hmm.
like nobody's business. And I think that appealed to people not just on the Democratic side, but the independents and maybe a few Republicans.
Well, there's a chance.
I don't think he's got that. He just doesn't have that appeal that Obama had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's 70. He's 73 years old.
He's pretty old. Yeah.
He has held, and I'm not saying Hillary's old too, but Bernie is 73. He has held public office since 1991. Okay, so he can't, like, his argument against Clinton. He can't say, "Well, you're a dynasty, a political dynasty." Well, Bernie in himself is a dynasty. He's been in 91, so it's just, I don't think he has, like, Hillary. Her appeal is, okay, her name, the Clinton legacy. She's probably the most ready and experienced candidate.
True.
If you look at her resume, she went from being the first lady to, being right next to the commander in chief,
Right.
to being a U.S. senator. So she knows how to get shit done in Congress and in the Senate. Then she went on to be Secretary of State. So she knows her foreign policy. I mean, she's very, very well-rounded. So that's kind of her appeal. Bernie, what's his appeal? Like, what's his crossover? What's going to get those other votes?
Well, like we were talking about Donald Trump.
Okay.
We were talking about how he's leading in the polls. He tells it he's leading in the polls, and it's because he tells it how it is, and that's something that Bernie might have almost in common with him. I hate to pin both of them together, but I believe that he has an honest demeanor and he speaks his mind. I mean, this may help. This is part of his charm. And if any of this rubs away from Trump and goes into Bernie, if people start seeing how he might have that charm, it might be different kind of charm, But if that, for whatever reason, were to help him, to bring it to the everyday kind of guy thing and speaks it how it is, like I kind of feel like that would help him.
I
You know,
I like Bernie. I really do, and I think like he. Okay, and let's keep this in mind though.
okay.
We haven't even gotten to the first Democratic debate.
No.
Which
It's
is
very early on.
There's, as of now, there are 4 serious candidates, which is Hillary, Bernie, Jim Webb, and Martin O'Malley,
And possibly,
and possibly Joe Biden.
yeah.
So what could happen is, like, we could get to the debate, and Bernie could end up
Drop
looking
off or whatever.
he could drop off based on his performance in the debate. We don't know how he's going to perform
That's true.
on the debate stage. He could win. He could very well catapult himself into the nomination, or he could just kill everything he's accomplished.
Right.
But we don't know what Martin O'Malley has to bring, or what Jim Webb, or what Joe Biden potentially would bring. So you just don't know. It's so early to say. Like Bernie's got all this momentum so early, but
which just like Jeb Bush had some sort of a momentum coming in, and then when Donald Trump decided to run for presidency, it was gone all of a sudden.
Right.
So I mean, something like that might happen. I don't know. This is the thing about politics, is that you never know what's going to happen.
Let's say Bernie Sanders gets the nomination, right?
All right.
And let's say he becomes president.
Oh, geez. Okay.
I think we'd have another Jimmy Carter. I think he'd be a one.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I was right there. You're freaking stealing my shit, man.
I'm sorry. I promise I'm not stealing anything.
No, but this is good.
I think he'd be another Jimmy Carter, man. Like and I'm not saying that Jimmy Carter was a bad president. I think Jimmy Carter would have.
Well, he gets blamed for a lot of this gas stuff and
he
economy.
does, but under President Carter, not one American soldier was killed. There wasn't a war.
He did end up winning the Nobel Peace Prize, but a lot of people say, well, what's the point if he just ruined American lives? Which that's the thing. It's like the thing about history is that we really don't know what would have happened if it would be another president. And
But you know why he lost? You know why he did not win? You know why Reagan beat him?
Why is that?
Okay. Because it was Reagan that beat him by. Yeah, it was Reagan.
Yeah. Because of the whole terrorist thing and the airplane, remember? They had to
the Iranian hostage crisis.
Yeah.
Had that not happened, Jimmy Carter probably would have been reelected. But what also didn't help was, and Reagan had this. I think this won Reagan his presidency. In the debate, the last debate between the two, Reagan said, ask, if you're an American, you're going to the polls, you're not sure who you're going to vote for. He said, ask yourself this question: am I better off today than I was 4 years ago?
Oh my God.
And that was just like, that was it. That was the nail in the coffin.
Man.
Because Jimmy Carter was a soft. He came across as soft, I thought. Like, even today, if you hear him speak, he's very soft. He's very kind. He's not strong. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like Hillary, use Hillary, for example. When she was Secretary of State, she was overseas, and a reporter asked her something along the lines of what Bill Clinton thought on something. And I don't know if you remember, but she went off on him.
Yeah.
She goes, I'm not my husband. You want to ask my husband, ask him. I'm here or something. I mean, she was just like, don't fuck with me.
You have to be, man. What
And
kind of question is that?
right. And so, like, I don't see Bernie Sanders being like that. Like, Bernie
Well,
Sanders.
he is. There's actually an interview. Seriously, you can YouTube it. There's an interview. He's on CNN, and they say, they're talking about climate change and how progressive he is. And so how does Hillary feel about that? And he goes, well, you have to ask Hillary. Hillary, I don't know what she does. I don't know. Like seriously, he's getting questions asked about Hillary himself.
But
So, you
he
know.
almost comes across as the poor old man that if you
I
just
don't
ask
think
him,
so. I disagree with
ask
that.
him like,
Nah, nah.
like he's like, oh, we'll just ask Hillary. He's just like this
No,
old.
he's not. He got stern. He was like, no, no, ask Hillary. I don't know. Ask Hillary. He was born in Brooklyn, dude. He has
I
a
know,
Brooklyn accent. He's
I know
like,
he does.
he's ready
But
to
he's that
go
old man. He's that
down.
old man from Brooklyn. He's just that old man.
Yeah, I guess you could see
But
that. I don't know.
he's. I like I said, I like Bernie, but
Yeah.
I just think like he would, even if he won, he'd be a one-term president.
Yeah, well, he's a little older, so I kind of think he would have to be.
No,
Um,
I think he no. Well, I think he would run for re-election.
do
I
you
just
think
think,
so?
I think he would
Getting
lose.
out in his 80s? That's like what's the oldest president that's out there? Wasn't
Reagan,
it Reagan was how old was he when he got out?
I think he was almost 80. I want to say
No
he was.
way. We need to
Yeah,
fact check. We need to get that fact check. On next
because
podcast we'll give you that fact check.
Reagan was he was pretty old, and Hillary's going to be the same way, pretty much. I mean, these. I think Bernie would run for re-election. He would just lose. I think he'd flat out lose.
Well, the thing about Bernie going back is that he needs to clean up this socialist kind of
You can't
mentality.
clean it up once you start talking
Well,
about it.
all I'm saying, no, what I mean clean it up is he the image of him being painted as a socialist, automatically people just stop talking. I can hear Republicans just hissing right now at
They
the
would have a
thought.
field day.
Yeah, they're already like, "What? He's a goddamn socialist, man. We're not talking about like that's what I think. Like the middle is not obviously going to listen because they're going to just hear socialist, and they're not going to really understand that hey, he's appealing to you. He's appealing to the poor and the lower class. Unfortunately, he's got that stamped on his forehead. Uh, he's a very progressive individual, which I feel would happen anyways. It's time for us to get a progressive government going. We need somebody in there that's going to really care about climate change. That's anti-establishment. I don't like this super PAC stuff. Just like he doesn't. Hillary said she's gonna go for the super PACs. Whatever. We'll talk more about her next. But you
Yeah.
know, another thing that's wrong against something bad against Bernie is that he'd be the first non-Christian president. He's born
Oh,
to Jewish
Jewish.
parents. That doesn't help him either. Unfortunately,
But I don't think that matters anymore.
you
I
don't think
really.
so?
Nah,
But they've never. No one has ever been elected that has
has there
been
ever been a
non-Christian.
nominee that's been Jewish?
I don't know that. I need
I
to.
don't think so. I
I
mean,
don't know that.
but look, think about this. When JFK was elected, there hadn't been a Catholic president. He was the first Catholic.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah,
You know,
but still Christian.
it's well, Jesus was he was Jewish.
You were gonna say Jesus was a Jew.
I was not.
Jesus was a Jew.
I was not gonna say that.
But no. I know you're right. I don't know. I think we're getting closer. I kind of feel that him just running and getting this much attention to me excites me. It excites me that
I can tell.
maybe 10 years down the line or 12 years down the line, we'll keep getting this progressive mentality. If this is getting young people involved right now, maybe people will start educating themselves because what scares me about all this all these politics and all these different debates and everything is that I will ask very simple questions to friends and family, and it's like they don't care. They don't
Yeah.
care, and the people who think they're informed are not informed at all, and that's what scares me. I'm like, how do you not pay attention? How do you not just open your phone? Just get
It's
a
not that
news
hard.
app, get something in here.
It's
Like
not that hard.
it's not that hard. It's like, what do you do all day that you cannot like when the whole Bernie Sanders came down, with these people taking over his his
Yeah, his events.
his events. I asked somebody about it, and they didn't know who Bernie Sanders was. First of all,
Oh, oh,
two, they hadn't heard anything. I'm like, how do you not hear anything? This is blasted all over every news organization. Like, that's what really just roused me up. I'm like, how are you? This is very simple stuff, but they'll know, things that have to do about, you know,
Kim Kardashian.
I don't know. I don't want to go that far, but yeah, that's true. Pretty much. Oh my God, they gave him a SB or something like that. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah,
they'll talk about who's coming in town, what comedian, and or
right.
or what sporting events going on. I'm just like, these people affect what you do on a daily basis, and then
Yeah,
you people moan and they talk about how the government sucks. Well, because you're not paying attention. You should have voted or you should have done
part of the
something.
part of the problem is that people feel that their vote isn't important. So,
Of course,
and
yeah.
and I've always said, like, imagine how, because there are people that vote and they're like, they just vote because they feel it's their patriotic duty, but they don't really like, they don't research who they're voting for or whatever. They just go to the polls and they vote straight ticket or whatever. Some people just pick some random ass candidates. You ever wonder, like, you ever see like the Green Party candidates? You're like, damn, that many people voted for that. It's just like people. Some people probably just went in the voting booth. Okay, I like that name. I like that name. I like that name. I mean,
It's
seriously,
true.
or
It's
they're
true.
first on the ballot. Like, for us, like when I ran for office, it was like, it was a big fucking deal. We were going down to be. They had to do the drawing to see
Yeah.
what the order of the ballot would be, and it was like, if you were number one on the ballot for whatever position you were running for, statistically, that gave you an advantage. I can't remember if I was number one or whatever. I think I got the first, and I was just like, okay, like, this is important to
Yeah.
get that top spot because statistically it gives me an advantage. Because some people think, well, because seriously, like, I was told that there are voters that go into the booth and they're like, okay, he's listed first. He must be more important
Yeah.
than the other ones.
It's true.
Let me vote for him. Seriously, it's like, it's for everything from the way your name was on your campaign size. I mean, because people don't vote based on what the candidate represents. Some people
No.
don't. They
No.
just vote based on if they like the name, if they're first on the ballot, or whatever. But that's part of the problem. But the other part is that there are people that don't feel their vote counts,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't vote. And if you imagine all the people that didn't vote because they felt their vote didn't count, and if they actually went out and voted, could you imagine how different society would be? Like, our government would be. It'd be very, very different.
Well, I mean, we say that.
It would. Like, votes count.
They
Like,
do,
go back to 2000.
right?
The end of, we all know the Florida debacle,
Yeah.
where they were doing the recount. Some say if they had finished the recount, Gore would have been declared the winner.
Yeah.
The final result was, I think, something that Bush had won by 630 something votes. Like, could you imagine if Democrats had actually come out and voted, like those that just stayed home
Like
that day?
hardcore. Like
Yeah, like
hardcore came
those
out.
that stayed home and were like, well, I don't feel like voting. It's not going to make much of a difference.
Yeah.
Like, had they voted,
It would have been
Gore might
shitty.
have been president. Like,
Yeah.
it would have taken 700 votes roughly to have changed the 2000 presidential
This
election.
is
Like,
true.
that's how close it was.
Yeah.
Like, 700 votes to determine the presidency.
Yeah.
That's freaking close. Like, people's votes, the vote counts. People just need to get out, get informed, and get out there and vote. It's very important.
And here's another thing, though, that I wanted to also touch base is, yes, we say that every vote counts, but what people automatically think is, well, let's just vote the president. And that's a problem that I have is like, no, don't just vote president. Like, he's not a king. He's not going to just magically just, you know, just fix everything. Like, you need to vote for everything. Like, you need to go and get yourself, vote for senators, vote for representatives. Like, you need to get involved with everything about your community. And to be honest, when it comes to everything, just in San Antonio, just voting for all these officials in San Antonio, honestly, is exhausting if you
It's
actually think about it.
it's important.
It is important. And I kind of feel like a lot of these people that don't vote kind of feel like it's a lot of work. I don't know. It leads to that one person that go think about it. You work, you work 40 plus hours. You come
Yeah,
home. You just want to relax. The last
but
thing you want to do is inform yourself of who's running and who's doing stuff. You just want to
but
be taken care of.
there's no excuse though. I mean, like,
There
look,
isn't.
I work 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the gym.
Yeah.
I'm usually on the road every weekend. And so like there have been times where you know I had to go do a show on a Saturday. There was a local election. There was a runoff in my district, and I think I was traveling that Saturday or whatever. I made it a point that before I left that I was going to figure out somehow some way to go to the poll and vote. Like there are ways to find time to get
This
yourself
is true.
informed. You can make time to vote. There's early voting. There's election day voting.
Yep.
You can mail in your vote.
You
You don't have to leave your house.
don't have to wait in line.
I mean, it's like it's crazy. Like there's so many options, and people just don't take advantage of them. But it's very important to vote, not just for presidential elections, but your local governments,
Yeah.
your state governments. I mean, all this has an impact. You know, uh, on your like for example in Texas, we don't our judges aren't appointed. Our judges are elected.
Yeah.
You know, some people don't inform themselves on the judges that they are voting for, but the judges that they are voting for, they could be before one day, and that judge could put you in jail because of their beliefs. Like
Kind of scary.
when it comes to sentencing or whatever, or your bond, like the judge that you vote for could one day be before, and could very well, because you didn't know what they believed in or the issues that they stood for, that could end up hurting you one day. It's scary.
It is scary.
It's scary that our judges are elected. That's very scary.
We should do a podcast where we actually have like a little lesson on because Texas politics is different than federal,
it
obviously.
the governor of Texas that's just a show position.
Yeah.
The most important people in Texas government are the lieutenant governor, who presides over the Senate, and the House Speaker, who presides obviously over the House of Representatives. Both set the agenda for both houses. Like, those are the most important positions. All the governor can do is sign something into law and
or veto.
or call a special session. That's it. Like the governor position is really just like a pomp and circumstance for show position. It doesn't mean shit.
Which is another thing that we can talk about because we have, oh my gosh, tons of things we can talk about.
There are tons, and I will say this just to give people a little something to wet their chops with. The governor, his veto can be overridden by the Senate. They could just say, "Well, we don't care what." Like the Senate and the House in Texas could actually pass a law without the governor signing it. I don't think many people know that, but
shoot, I want to be governor of Texas.
Yeah, you want to take Greg Abbott's spot?
Yeah, just
Maybe Bernie will move to Texas and be our governor.
Yeah, that'll be the day. Oh man. Yeah. With that said, for those of you who are just trying, maybe this is your first time voting. I don't know. This is definitely a good podcast to keep listening to because we're gonna try to bring things that we hear on the news and bring it down to layman's terms because I kind of feel like that's another reason why people shy away from politics because they'll throw words like super PACs out there and they're like, oh, well, what's a super PAC? And all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm just going to change the channel because I don't know what's going on.
Are you saying we need to dumb it down a little bit?
No, I'm not saying dumb it down, but what I'm trying to say is if we're going to talk about something, I'd like it to be more informative, to make it seem like, hey, because I feel like a lot of people out there, sometimes on purpose, they want to make you feel stupid. They want to make you feel like you have no business in politics. I kind of feel like they say a lot of crazy stuff to keep people from really, truly being informed. Like, for instance, we talked a little bit about Planned Parenthood, right?
Yeah.
And I actually have a link and I'll put it below. And basically, the Republicans are taking a story and they're spinning it, and they're talking about how they're selling body parts and all this stuff. And frankly, it's not true. There's actually videos on YouTube that are not edited at all that you can watch. And what it is this person talking to Planned Parenthood trying to get them to say things. And what it is that when they do have these abortions, what they've always done is they've given these parts for research, okay? They
Yeah.
don't make any money whatsoever. But the people who got these videos, they deliberately went and spoke to Planned Parenthood representatives, and they're like at some restaurant or whatever, and they edited the video to their liking, and it's like, oh my god, they're, it's an agenda, really. That's really what it is, and that's the frightening thing that's out there is that they put these videos out there, they spin it. You're watching whatever Fox News out there, and they're telling you, "Oh, this is why Planned Parenthood is bad." And then they're the the people who are running for office, they're taking it and they're running with it. And the person sitting down who's not informed, who just turns on TV, gets home, sees this on the news, and they're just like, "Oh my God, yeah, shut it down." That's the problem that we have is that we're fed information that's incorrect. And sometimes we're led to believe that we're the idiots, that we're the dumb people. But what
Yeah.
we need to do is we need to go and get informed. And like I did, I was thinking about this Planned Parenthood, and we talked about it in the podcast, and I didn't know, I read some stuff on it, but I was like, you know, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would they do this? Are they that crazy? And I went and I kept digging, and I finally found the original video. And in the original video, the woman says, "This is in no way are we using this for additional income or anything." She says this is just research. And this is the unedited video that's up there as well that they don't even want you to know. So that's what gets me riled up. It's like these
Yeah.
lies that are being spun. It's just because of a religious agenda. I mean, with Planned Parenthood, I mean, we can talk a whole lot about them.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily, they don't actually pay for abortions. They don't. Like the government funds, I think I read that they did about, they end up funding like 41% of Planned Parenthood stuff, and most of it is through Medicaid. And most of it is like, things having to do with female issues, contraceptives, things of that nature, and more things. But they don't pay for abortions.
Yeah.
They make it seem like the government's paying for these services, but they're not at all.
No.
So, if you're listening to this podcast and you're really wondering what's really going on, do your research. I mean, that's the thing about the internet is that everything's out there, and you can make your own research. You can make your own. You can connect the dots, your own, basically. And if you're really a critical thinker, you will see what makes sense and what doesn't. I watched a documentary about aliens yesterday, and the dots didn't really necessarily connect. So I'm very cynical. Be very cynical about everything. Be cynical about, Bernie Sanders, but be
Burn.
informed. Look up what he stands for, look up what he says, and then make a conscious decision. But don't do it because people are saying that he's a socialist. Same thing with, with Donald Trump. I'll be honest. I love the fact
Hate him.
that he's just speaking his mind. Like, to me, it's a circus. It's like, wow, this is exactly what I wish would secretly happen, and my dream is coming true. Like, someone's saying, "Screw it, I'm gonna run." Like, he made it to the Republican stage. Like, that to me is amazing. It cannot get better than that. It can't. But yeah, we'll talk more about that. We'll talk about super PACs and what they mean, what they are. We'll talk about more Texas government stuff. I think this is a lot of fun for people who watch movies and they like to watch human behavior. Just people watch. Politics is like the ultimate. It's like the cream of the crop. you're wondering what are they going to do, because all these people, they're trying to aspire to be almost godlike, if you think about it, when they're on that stage. They're doing it for different reasons. You can't think they're doing it really to serve the people. Because
Right.
if you're really serving the people, hey buddy, take a pay cut. You know what I mean? All these people, these senators and Congress, like, come on, man. If you really wanted to save the budget, why don't you all just take a pay cut? Really?
Well,
Right?
yeah. I mean, the budget is a whole nother. But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
they could take a pay cut. They could take a pay cut.
That's what I'm saying. I think that there's a lot of vanity when it comes to politics, thanks to, television. There is.
Use that word vanity. Okay, all right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy right now. Maybe that's what's going
No,
on.
no.
But I don't know. But yeah, that's our take on Bernie, on the Burn Man.
That's it.
That's the take on Bernie.
Real quick though,
Yeah.
Bernie. There are some Republican voters that are going to vote in these Democratic primaries and vote for Bernie just to cause. I'm serious. You think I'm joking, but I'm dead serious.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love it. I just wish I knew more. That's basically. Bernie. To me, it's like it's just this giant black comedy, really, and the people that are getting the worst out of everything is the actual people they represent. Everybody kind of gets what they want, except for the people that are supposed to get what they want. That's kind of how I feel with these governments. Like Ted Cruz, to me, is a lunatic. Like, he's gonna get known in history books for shutting down the government.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when he's passing away, his final thoughts are gonna be like, well, at least they're gonna be talking about me. Right? Like, that's the impression that I get from him. I'm like, if you really cared about people, why would you shut down the government? Just to prove a point? To me, it was just like a little kid not getting what he wanted. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, exactly.
Man.
How they are.
Oh, man. Woo.
Woo.
Here at the URUR.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh, man. All right. Any other things about the burn that we left out?
No, that's it. I'm sure some other stuff will come up, and we kind of touch base on it a little bit next time, I guess. Because we're gonna talk about some other things next time, right?
Absolutely. This is an ongoing struggle here, my friend.
Ongoing. We should. You know what? We should go to some of the political events that come to San Antonio.
Yeah, actually, yes. I'll be glad to do that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Let's do a live. We should do like a live podcast.
A live URUR.
Something live with a video,
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
you heard it here first on the URUR. If it were to happen, see our ugly mugs up there.
Yeah, and then you could stand behind us and wave like the crazy people do on TV.
All right, Rob. Well, that's it for us. Remember, rate, comment, subscribe. If you like what we're talking about, hey, comment. If you have any issues, please tell us what you think about this Bernie guy. I almost called him Bernie Madoff. That would be bad, huh?
Yeah.
Bernie Madoff, remind me.